Welcome to the Second Win Boxing Media. I'm your host, Rashid Hammond, and alongside.
It's your boy Caesar Fantastic, and today we are honored to be in the presence of Carolina's Hall of Fame member, Mr. Brandon Mitchem. What's going on, man? How you doing?
Oh man, thanks for having me on, guys. It's a pleasure. It's an honor to be here talking with you, and I appreciate the invitation.
Hey, man, it's an honor to have you here, man. Let's get started. Where you from?
I'm originally from North Carolina, man. Country boy, living from Lincolnton, North Carolina. I was born in Portsmouth, Virginia. My father was in the Navy, and then they moved back to North Carolina. I lived there for the first 15 years of my life. I started boxing when I was a little young man, like 6 years old. My father was a fighter, and I always wanted to do it. I knew I wanted to be a boxer, and I had a first exhibition when I was 6 years old. It was in a mall in Gastonia, North Carolina, and so I couldn't wait till I was 10 years old so I could start boxing, because back then that's when you could officially start, and started when I was 10. I boxed in Lincolnton, and boxing kind of died out in that little small town. Not many other guys were there for me to work with and spar. So my family, we moved down to Augusta, Georgia. Uh, when I was 15 years old, I was honored to be on the Augusta Boxing Club team, man, with cats like Kevin Wright, Trey Pettis, Jerry Harvey, Frank Durst, Jacob Hudson. I'm sure if you guys heard of them. And I fought there for 4 years, silver gloves. I had my first fight when I was 10 years old. I made it to the finals of the Silver Gloves Championships. I lost my first fight in the finals of the Silver Gloves Championships when I was 10 years old. I lost to a kid named Bradley McNeil. I never forget that. And I was so upset, man. And then, I took it, all the way until I was 18 years old. I couldn't wait to turn pro. I guess I turned pro a little maybe too early. I don't know, but I made it to the Olympic box office in 1996. But I won some good tournaments along the way. I won the Silver Gloves twice. I won the 1995 Junior Nationals Open Championships. I fought Jeff Lacey in the finals there. I beat him. And then I fought National Golden Gloves in '96. I fought a sharp kid, man, Robert Linton. He was a very tough southpaw. Fought him in the finals. That was a close, tough fight. Made it to the Olympic trials, and made it through the Olympic trials. Got to the box office, lost Fernando Vargas, and then after, after the box office in '96, I turned professional and moved to Las Vegas and trained under Eddie Futch for a little while. And the pro career didn't really pan out like I wanted it to, but I had some great experience, man. Got to travel the world, got to fight a lot of people, got to get in the ring with a lot of great boxers, spar with some great champions, and we can get into that as we go.
We're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. Now, how many amateur fights did you have?
Man, honestly, I had 214 amateur fights, and out of the 214, I lost 18 of them. Yeah.
That's crazy. That's a lot. Now describe your style.
Lot, man. Yeah.
That's a lot. Yeah, that's a lot of amateur fights.
My
describe
face,
your style.
My face shows beat up.
Nah, man, you good. Describe your style as a fighter.
I was more of a boxer, man. I like to move, and I was a sharpshooter, and I wasn't much of a puncher. I didn't have much of a punch, but I could box your ears off, man. I was definitely, I feel I was a good boxer, no doubt. Not really a puncher, yeah.
All right. And what were some of your most memorable amateur fights?
Oh man, so many. I mean, I guess winning the Silver Gloves, beating Jeff Lacey. That was a tough fight, man. Cause I went to the Junior Nationals in '95. You remember Roshai Wells, right? Remember Rashad Wells, Rashid?
Where he
Shit.
from? Where he from, Brandon?
Where was he from?
Where he from? The guy you was who?
Roshai, he was from Texas, but he moved to Atlanta. And so we were in the state. I was living in Georgia,
Okay,
Augusta, Georgia, and he was living in Atlanta. And we were
dark skin
both,
guy.
excuse me.
Well, how did he look? Was he dark skin?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
Roshai, yeah.
remember. I remember
Roshai.
him. I
And
remember him.
you asked me to say what a man was dark skinned or not. You crazy.
I'm saying that's only. I remember.
I know, I got you.
Was he with Ebo? The guy used to be with Ebo.
Uh, yeah. They fought out of Atlanta.
Yeah, because I remember him and Ebo. Ebo. It was only two of them I remember from Atlanta back then.
Yeah, you talking about Tolliver was one kid.
That might be him. Yeah. See,
Yeah,
I
that might be him.
don't
Yeah.
remember that guy then, man. Yeah, I don't remember him.
Rashad Wells, he was on the Olympic team in '96.
Oh, okay.
At
Which way you?
160. He fought 165, but
Okay,
at the
for
time he
160.
was 147. I lost in the state championships to get to the junior nationals to
Okay.
Rashad Wells because we were the same weight, so we had to have like a little box off. I lost to him, so I moved up to 156. Went to Marquette, Michigan, and at 156 I was weighing like 147 in the finals.
Oh wow.
Both Jeff Lacey and at 156, man, that was a tough fight. That dude was strong, man. He was a beast.
Man, you fought everybody, man.
Yeah. I fought a lot of great fighters, man. I was,
man.
yeah. Gary Jones,
Gary Jones,
Chop Corley,
all the DC fighters, yes, indeed.
Yeah, man, yeah.
Man, I remember 1992, first time coming to the Silver Glove Nationals.
Yeah.
And
man, I was out in Kansas, right?
No, I mean, I'm not. I mean, the region. Let me start with the regional first. We did go to Kansas. We did go to the Nationals in Kansas that year.
Yeah.
But the regionals, and I was sitting around, and I saw some slick white fighters that I have never saw in my life. I'm talking the slickest boxers that you would ever see in your life, man. That was Caucasian. I'm trying to tell you, man. Brandon was one of the slickest fighters. I'm trying to tell you. If you were to see him, and my brother, we still talk about you guys to the day. It was him.
Oh, that's what's up, man.
Jacob Hudson.
Yeah, Jacob Hudson. Frank Durst, yeah.
Bo Elders, even though he was from Atlanta.
Yeah.
He was a tough fighter, though. He was tough.
Yeah, he was very tough.
Brandon was the leader of that pack, though. You know, back then. He was the leader of that pack. I think you were the oldest. And
yeah, I was older than Jacob and Frank and Ebo.
Frank and all of them. Yeah. And they had a phenomenal trainer. He was hands-on. My father loved to talk to this guy and pick him with information. I remember the teams come from Miami. Back then, you know, we was Region 3, but our region was so
baby.
It stretched from DC all the way down to Miami.
Miami, yep.
Yeah, and we and
Burns.
Yeah. And he would, and Jacob Hudson will make the championship. You know, he was leading the pack. Him and Gary Jones had a rumble like no other. The first time. You know what I'm saying? And then they fought 3 other times after that. And it was hell of a rivalry. They split 2-2. How was that with you?
That was me and Gary. Yeah.
You and Gary. Yeah, you and Gary, man.
Yeah.
That was some battles, man. And I used to pick, me and my brother used to pick styles that you guys had and took them and brought them back to DC with us, man.
Oh yeah, y'all study us.
Slick, yes indeed, man. Slick fighters, man. Hey, Kiki, how's it going? What's up, Lou? How's it going, brother Lou? And Kiki.
Yeah, yes, man. Indeed. Yeah, them DC dudes, man. Y'all were bangers, boy. Y'all throw down, boy. It was always you always had the rumble when it was in the ring with some DC guys, man.
Man, that's how we felt about Augusta, man, as well, man. You got it, C's.
No, you keep going. You got some more?
Yeah, and I just wanted to reflect on those days from the Silver Gloves, but Man, what was that transition like from you going from amateur to pros? How was that?
Yeah, the transition from amateur to pros was a little bit tough for me because I had a lot of amateur fights, man. I had 214. I think maybe I had a little too many. Making that transition because I was 18 years old when I turned professional, and my body wasn't really mature enough. I felt like my time in the amateurs had reached its peak.
Yeah.
And after the Olympic box office in '96, I was like, there's nothing else for me to do in the amateur game. Looking back on it, hindsight is 2020, of course. Sometimes I wish I would have stayed amateur a few more years, maybe to wait until the year 2000 to see how that would go and let my body mature a little bit more before I turned pro. But, I figured I had so many amateur fights then, I was ready to go. And so, it is what it is, man. I went for it. I tried and I gave it all my effort. But my first fight, man, my first professional fight. I was training in Denver, Colorado, and my first fight was out in Denver, Colorado. It was on the undercard of the Ian McCullough fight, and I went out there, man. It was a 4-round fight. I was fought this Mexican kid, and I threw so many damn punches. I was dead tired after the 3rd round, and Eddie was like, gotta calm down a little bit. You don't have to throw so many punches. It's all right. Settle down. But I couldn't. I was just like, I was so excited and just wanted to get the guy out of there, man. And it's just, I wish I would have did a little bit better. I wish I would have waited to turn pro and just I let my body mature a little bit more, and had a little bit more maturity mentally speaking.
I understand, man.
Yeah. So training with a legendary trainer like Eddie Futch that early in your career, what kind of knowledge did he instill in you?
Oh man, Eddie was a great guy, man. He helped me with my jab, man. I think that was one of my best punches, but he definitely helped me with that. He helped me cultivate my jab, and that's the most important punch in boxing. Is it sets everything up, and he was big on that. He was big on the jab. You know what I'm saying? And he trained Mike McCullum, and Mike had that great jab, man.
Yeah, he did.
I used to watch him study films, and just watch how he threw his jab, how it came out, how he delivered it, how it just he wouldn't even make a move. You couldn't even tell him when he was going to throw the jab. He just wow, and it was all sudden. It was in your mouth.
So,
go ahead.
Yeah, the rivalry between you and Vargas.
Yeah.
Explain that experience about that during the Olympic trials.
Yeah. So first time I fought Vargas, man, was in '92. Was at the Junior Olympic box offs, and we all went out to Colorado Springs and trained out there, and then afterwards, at the end of the training camp, we all fought for the Junior Olympic box offs, and he got the best of me pretty good on that one, man. We were 15 years old, and Vargas was sharp, man. I didn't realize how good he was until I was in the ring with him, you know what I mean? And then we fought again in the under 19 junior nationals in 94, excuse me, 94. We fought in the finals, and I lost to him there, and that was a little bit closer, man, and I felt like, that was a good fight. That I had a better showing, but in the Olympic box office, man, I was in my hometown of Augusta, Georgia, and it was in front of 6,000 fans, all screaming for me and cheering for me, and it kind of propelled me to fight a little bit better that night, and I felt at that time, man, that was my shining moment, and I thought that I won that night, and unfortunately I lost by 3 points, and my Olympic hopefuls, my dreams were shattered. I had to beat him twice, though. I had to beat him 2 times in the box office because I came through the challengers bracket in the Olympic trials, and it was a tall task. even knew I was boxing, and given the fact that I had to beat him 2 times, at the Olympic box office, it was definitely a pretty good challenge. But I was ready to go for it, and I went for it. Hey man, I shot for the moon. I shot for the stars, and landed on the moon. You know what I mean?
You know that year, that '96 team, you the transition from that scoring system. How did you adjust to that?
Oh yeah, it was so new, Now you guys, man, the boxers today, they know how to perfect that, man. They know how it works. And I remember at the time they were like, oh, the judges have to hit the button at the same time within certain seconds, and
Yeah, I remember that.
I'm like, man, and then I'm thinking I was in the red corner, and the red corner is in the left hand, and the blue corner is in the right hand. And, most people are right-handed, so they probably clicking that blue button like one.
Exactly.
I was like, I have a disadvantage on this one.
Exactly, man.
Yeah. But it was all new back in '96, man. Pretty much the Olympic scoring. I mean, I know they do it in '92 at the Olympics.
They did. That's when they started it in '92.
Yeah.
'96, I know they were doing it in the box office and in the trials and all that.
In the box office, yeah.
Yeah.
Man, in the Olympic trials, man, that was a trip. I fought Gary Jones the first night, lost to him, and then I fought Thomas Davis, David Palak.
David Palak, I remember him. Yeah,
remember him, tall southpaw.
He
was
good,
he
was
man.
Nice, man. Yeah,
he was so nice, man.
He was,
nice.
man.
Yeah, strong.
Yes,
yeah, and I fought Thomas Davis from Marines.
Okay.
And then in the finals, I fought Gary again because he lost to Vargas in the challenge in the winners bracket. And
I remember that. Yeah,
he lost to Vargas, and then I came around through the challengers bracket, fought him at the end, beat him, and made it to the box office. I thought I was like, oh shit, I done made it, boy.
Right.
But it was a great experience. Boxing was it took me around the world, man. I got to travel the world. I got to go to Japan. I got to go to Denmark, England. I've traveled all around the place, and I got to be in the ring with some of the greatest. Some of the greats. When I lived in Vegas, I was sparring. I got to spar with Bernard Hopkins. I got to spar with William Joppy. Oh, William Joppy. Yeah, I got to spar with William Joppy, and just some great fighters out there. Julian Jackson, that joker hit me in my right ear with a left hook in sparring on my headgear, and made my it turned into some cauliflower. I had to get operated on, get it cut. Yeah. In training with some 16-ounce gloves, he hit my ear.
Damn.
Yeah.
Jackson could crack, man. That's some good work, man.
Jackson could crack. He couldn't see that. He couldn't see that good because his vision was bad. But it didn't matter if he could see you a little bit, he could crack you.
Yeah. Now, what type of things did you learn that early in your career, like training with those type of veterans and those type of fighters?
Man, I learned how to survive. It's just the object of boxing is to hit and not get hit, make them miss, make them pay, and that's what I tried to do as much as possible. And I learned some good techniques as far as in the clinches, how to fight a little bit dirty. Because coming up in the amateurs, man, we all like so technical, so perfect, got our hands up, be clean boxing, so smooth. Pros is a totally different game. The pros is the
get in there with B-Hop.
Yeah, professional is the hurt business, man. I remember I was sparring with B-Hop up in Vegas, and I was trying to do something dirty with him, man. I was trying to mess with him, and he headbutted me so hard, man. Like, I'm like, okay. Had my lip all fat.
We got a question from chat. Mr. Lou Peterson said, what was your biggest moment in boxing?
My biggest moment. My biggest moment. I think, man, I had a lot of them. I mean, not a lot of them, a few of them, a couple of them. My biggest one was my first win, man. When I was 10 years old, I fought in Wilmington, North Carolina. I was 10, and I remember winning and just that feeling, man, winning your first boxing match and being in there and just you know, having your hand raised at the end. I told my dad, "Oh, I love this. I want to do this for the rest of my life," and that was one of the biggest moments of my life. Um, making it to the Olympic box office and being having a chance to be an alternate on the Olympic team and yeah, I think maybe the Olympic box office was the biggest moment in my life. Yeah. I wish I would have had a bigger one. I mean, I won some good fights in the pros. Man, I was 25 wins, 5 losses, 1 draw as a professional, but I never had that one fight. I never had any championship fights, and I was pretty much just an average professional.
You think because of your outstanding amateur career, a lot of those big fights wasn't? Because I remember Sean Johnson, right?
Yeah.
Was attempting to go pro as well, but because of his extensive amateur career, the big fights, so people wouldn't fight him because of how well known he was as an amateur. You think that happened for you in terms of not getting the big fights because you had a well-known amateur background?
I you know I can't say I don't really think so. I don't really think
Okay.
so. Yeah,
Okay.
I don't really think so. It's just you know I guess fate and the man upstairs didn't have that plan for me.
Yeah, I understand.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, um, now that you in the pro games, what advice do you have for the future of boxing for the younger generations? What could if you were sitting down with a young fighter, what would
Yeah.
you tell them the mistakes or to watch out for in the sport of
Yeah.
boxing today?
I would tell a young fighter, make sure you have an attorney. Make sure you have you a good attorney who's going to get the best deals for you, and always stick with those who were with you at the beginning because they're going to be with you through the whole thing, because they loved you when you didn't have anything and they'll love you when you do have the stuff. And then you have people always come around you when you're winning. Everything's good, man. People love you when you're winning. As soon as you lose, boy, they scatter like roaches. And so just watch the people who you associate with, who you have on your team.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, Also, what advice would you give to them far as their training regimen? How would you tell them they should prepare and what things to stay away from and things of that nature?
I would tell them, man, they can't cheat. They can't cheat the game, man, because my pops always told me he was my trainer, for the most part for my whole life. He started, man. He taught me everything, my basics. But he said, you know, if you ain't running in the morning, if you ain't getting up doing your work, if you ain't running, if you ain't training like you're supposed to, if you're cheating, then your opponent is out there running. He's out there training. You know what I'm saying? So he's doing what you're not doing if you're trying to cheat. So you got to make sure that you stay true to yourself, stay true to the game, and keep your diet healthy, eat healthy, man, eat healthy. Cause I definitely did not eat the way I should have. Yeah.
Most of us
I
didn't
mean,
back then, man.
yeah, yeah. I know when I was pro, man, I was 147. I would I would get down to 147, right? And afterwards, I would eat, man. I would just eat everything. I would eat stuff. I wasn't even hungry, but I would eat it because I could, because I had to restrict so much when I was training and lose so much weight. and I would get up to like 165, and then I would have to sweat all the way down to 147, and it took too much out of me, and you don't have much left in your system, in the tank, whenever the fight time comes around. If you're not rehydrating, you're not eating right. So I think the diet was a big for me.
Now these young fighters out here, who's in your eyesight now, man, in the fight game now? Who you think's a good fighter today?
Man. There's so many good ones. I can't really say, because I can't say that I watch boxing like that as much as I should.
I understand.
I still love the game. I still watch it every now and then, but I honestly, I can't even name a fighter that I'm watching right now.
I understand. Hey, believe it or not, man, the same was with me before I started this program. I was staying far away from watching it and things of that nature. So I know what you're going through. I know how that is. The ghosts of past kind of haunts us sometimes.
It does, man. It definitely does. Yeah, it definitely does. It's just I remember just the struggles, man. Just the training, man. Putting this body through those things, and remembering just the heartache and losses that you do have, man. You never get over those losses.
That's a fact, man. So this is December, right?
Right.
Around this time of year, for the past 4 or 5 years, from ages 12 to, I say from about 12 to 15, I would see you guys every time around this year in the regionals in Augusta, Georgia, or sometimes they would bring it here. Most of the times it was in Augusta, Georgia. And do you remember the seasons of how getting prepared for that thing was back then, man, around this time?
Yeah, man, we would we'd always have the state tournaments first. You had the states and you had the regionals, and the regionals was big because you had DC, you had Miami, Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and honestly, I remember not worrying about the North Carolina, South Carolina guys. It was the DC and the Miami dudes that you had to worry about.
That's a fact, man. It was only 3 places to worry about in the regionals. That was DC, Augusta, and Miami.
Exactly, man. Yeah,
that's real talk, man.
Yeah.
So, you and Vernon Forrest, I remember when I would come down there and I would see Vernon Forrest. Explain that experience of being amongst with the great Vernon Forrest, man.
Oh man, believe it or not, when I turned pro, he was living in Vegas already. He had moved out there, and I was pro, and I was living in Vegas, and he had moved back to Atlanta, Georgia, and he was training out of Atlanta. And when I was an amateur, I actually sparred with Vernon. He was taking it easy on me because he was a bad dude, but he had that viper right hand, and so he worked with me when I was a young man, and then I turned pro, moved out to Vegas, and I was training for a fight back in 1999. I was training to fight. He was headlining the show in Augusta, Georgia, and I was fighting on the undercard. I had to fight a guy named Larry Marks, and it was a 10-round fight on ESPN, and I sparred with Vernon. I had sparred with Vernon down in Miami, Florida. We were training down there. No, not Miami. Excuse me, Vero Beach. We were training in Vero Beach, Florida, and it was in this hot ass gym, and it had like no windows in it. It had like a little circular fan, no AC or anything. It was hot, and I remember we were sparring 10 rounds. He was going 10 rounds that day, and I was going 10. So we had sparred, and towards the end of his work, it was like I went from 5. It was really like he sparred 5 rounds, and then I came in the 6th round and went from 6 to 10, and then he was my first 5. And then I sparred with this kid named Juan Lascano after that. But those first 5, man, were Vernon. His right hand was so vicious, man, so sharp, just so fast. It was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. And his jab, but Vernon was a great guy, man. Vernon was a great guy.
Yes, it was, man.
Yeah, he was a nice dude, very humble. Um, but he was one of the greats.
One thing I remember, man, in those days, how active your parents were to you in the sport of boxing, especially your mother.
Yeah.
I remember your mother being a judge.
Yeah.
And she used to judge the fights back then.
She was a ref too, man.
And she was a referee. I remember how hands-on she was with you and just the engagement in the sport of boxing, man.
Yeah,
so I had
man.
one of those memories, man, that I don't forget certain things, and I remember that, man. So
my parents were very involved, man. They definitely were, and so sometimes, maybe a little too involved. Sometimes I don't know, but hey, you can't fault them, man. They want to be a part of it. They want to be a part of the thing. I remember when I turned pro in '96, and part of my contract was that I moved to Las Vegas and live out there. And I took my parents with me, man.
That's
Took
right.
took my parents with me, and they were living in the house with me. That I don't know. Looking back on it, I kind of think that if I would have just branched out and did my own thing, maybe I would have grown a little bit more as a man.
Yeah.
I think I maybe didn't gain enough skills by living under that roof or living in the same house with them. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Back then, our parents were very active. In
Very.
My father was my trainer as well.
Yeah.
So I know that.
I love my parents though, man.
Me
I love
too,
them.
man.
I love
Yeah.
them to death. Yeah.
Man. My father passed away.
Oh man, I'm
I
sorry
lost
about
my
that.
father in 2012, so I know how that was, because you had to go home to boxing. Boxing was 24/7 in that house.
Yeah, it was, man. You never, the gym came home with us, and
It just
that was tough. You talk about what happened that day and how I looked in the gym.
And yes,
Yeah.
you couldn't eat certain foods in the refrigerator if it was in there. I'm
Exactly.
sneaking fries and pies and all this stuff while you need. So,
my pops was a great trainer, man. I remember I was 10 years old when I first started, and he would wake me up at 5:30 in the morning when I was 10 years old, man. I was in the 5th grade. Nobody else was doing this. Nobody else in my class was doing this. I was 10 years old, and he would wake me up, and I would go run a mile around the block.
Yes,
he would drive the car. He would drive the car beside me like I was Rocky. You know what I'm saying? It was crazy. But that was cool, man. I appreciate him doing that. He made sure I was safe. He made sure that I got, I ran and did what I was supposed to do. He had me chopping wood and stuff, man, when I was 10 years old, 11 years old, But that was just trying to make me stronger, trying to build me up, and he definitely helped me out. And I felt comfortable when he was in my corner. Even when Eddie Futch was training me, I felt comfortable. I had a sense of comfort when he was in the ring with me, when he was in the corner,
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
One thing about that, having parents like that, they see
it's a blessing and a curse.
It's both. Because sometimes they concerned about you getting too hurt. Sometimes, they can overdo things. Sometimes, you know what I'm saying. Depend on the situation, but you're right. You might have a great opportunity in front of you, but they might be worried about that opportunity causing harm and things of that nature.
Man. I love my pops, man. He's 68 right now, and
that's a blessing, man.
Yeah, he was a fighter back in the day. He's suffering from that chronic traumatic encephalopathy, that CTE.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's I mean, they say you can't diagnose it until you die, but he's showing the signs and the traits of it. So, yeah. but
So
he's still doing good, man. He's still
that's
doing good.
good,
But
man. That's a
yeah,
blessing to have him here, man. Still have
yeah,
him.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
He got kidney issues too.
Oh
So
no. How your mom's
yeah,
doing?
mom's doing well, man. She has some kidney issues as well. She has something called IgA or something like that, man.
Okay.
It's
I
yeah,
send
it
my
happens.
prayers to them, man. Hope
Yeah,
everything
thank you,
works
man.
out, man.
It's something to do with people, Pacific Islanders. My mother's from
Yeah.
Taiwan, and she battling some issues, right? Some health issues right now. But I'm thankful that they're still here, man. I love them, and we're gonna go and see them. Christmas. We're gonna go up there
Okay.
for a couple of days, and you know,
Yeah, please tell them I said
yeah,
hello, man. I remember
sure,
them like it was yesterday, man.
yeah, man. Yeah, they were very involved, and I'm thankful for that. But also, I think that if I don't know. I don't know if maybe I should have left a little bit earlier. I don't know.
Yeah, but you, man, from what I saw in the amateurs, man, they brought some of the best skills in boxing I ever seen
Yeah,
in
yeah,
the telling you, one of the best.
yeah.
You in my
They
top
brought it
10
out, man.
best amateurs, man, for real.
Thanks, brother. Thanks, man.
Thanks, man.
I had some good fights, man. We fought some good great international fights too. I fought against Norway, Finland, um,
Okay.
yeah, Lithuania, Korea, Ireland. This was all like we had a team down in Georgia. I don't know if you ever remember. It was the team Holyfield.
I
Holyfield had
remember
this
that.
team. Yeah, remember Team
Yeah, I
Holyfield?
remember
Yeah,
that. Yeah, yeah.
we fought against Team Frazier from Philly, and
Philly. Yeah, I remember
yeah,
that. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So
Wow,
yeah,
man.
yeah,
So we sometimes have this discussion about mental health with
yeah.
boxers. Do you really think it's a uh, issue that we need to address
Most
when it
definitely,
comes
man.
to fighters, man? Do you think we need to form some form of retirement slash
Most,
put together something where fighters can be evaluated for some of these things?
most
Um,
definitely.
you think
I
so?
think, yeah, absolutely. I think after the career, man, after my career, I definitely went through some mental health issues. Because you box for so long, and then you start boxing, you don't have it anymore. It's like, so what's next? You feel so empty, and you have all that trauma, man, taking them shots to the head, and it's a scary place in the ring. Not many people can do it. Not many people dare to do it.
That's
You can
facts.
go in there, and uh, it's a very very scary place, and to but it's a thrilling place. It's the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. You know what I'm
Yes,
saying?
indeed,
It
man.
truly
Yes,
is.
indeed.
But it's a very scary place, and I always say that boxing is controlled fear. Because you go in there, you understand. You have the reality. You have the understanding that anything can happen.
Yep.
You could knock your opponent out, or you could get knocked out yourself. So that's what makes us humble, man. I think most boxers are humble. And,
Facts. And then we
but
try to bottle that I tend to catch myself trying to create much peace as possible because I try
yeah,
to keep keep the Incredible Hulk
yeah,
closed in for some
right,
reasons
right, right,
because of
absolutely, absolutely.
it's a battle of yourself versus you have the power to do certain things to people or but you try to bottle that up and make sure it's like listen, I know what I can do, but boxing have gave us self control, it taught
It
us
has,
those things,
it has, it has, it has. And I think that the aftermath of boxing definitely, I've definitely suffered some trauma and just some post traumatic stuff, man. Like I get anxious sometimes, and I don't even know why.
Yeah,
Um, taking punches for 20 years, man. You bound to have some kind of damage in there. You bound to have some repercussions, and I don't know the full scale of it as of yet, but as of right now, I'm doing all right. And when I finished boxing, I retired at age 30, and I went back to college. I went to college and got a bachelor's degree in criminal justice, and now I'm a juvenile probation officer. But I went
That's
back
great, man.
because I wanted to save some brain cells. I had a couple left, and I wanted to save a few and keep my mind as sharp as I could. But it definitely, I worry about that sometimes.
Yeah, man. I mean, for you to do that, man, that's remarkable, man. To still
Yeah.
get out and then go find get your college degree, and then how was
Yeah.
that? How was that with with your career now, man? That you're doing?
Oh, probation officer, man, I love it, man. I love working with youth and, and trying to help them, because I could just as well could have been one of them youth making them
Fact.
bad decisions. You know what I'm saying?
That's truth, man.
I always tell them that boxing saved my life, or I saved my life through boxing.
That's right.
And 'cause it gave me direction, it gave me a purpose, it gave me an aim, something to focus in on instead of doing wrong,
That's right.
and not having a goal and not having an aim. So I
Right.
had goals and I set goals for myself through boxing, and it helped me.
That's true statement, man.
Yeah.
I noticed that your wife and you are doing like some fitness things. What's that about, man? Explain.
Yeah, man. My wife is a beast, man. She's a runner. She can run all day, man. She runs marathons, and
Okay.
I try to keep up with her. I'm 45 years old, man. I'm out there trying to run,
That's right.
trying to chase her. We
That's
just
right.
ran a half marathon 2 weeks ago, and
Okay.
yeah. So it went pretty good. It was hot because we live down here in Florida, but
Yeah.
yeah, we try to stay healthy, man. I run 6 days a week.
Okay.
We do some strength training, like mostly core and body weight type stuff, like Peloton. We do that. We try to stay healthy, man, because the older we get, our muscles start breaking down, our hips
That's
get
fact.
weak. So we're just trying to keep ourselves strong enough to as we age, we can get around and stay mobile, stay ambulatory, stay up on our feet, not have to wear a cane or anything, use a cane. I feel very fortunate that I'm not on any kind of medication right now. I don't take any cholesterol medication, no heart medication.
Good.
I eat a plant-based diet. I don't eat
Okay.
meat. Yeah, I became a vegetarian about 5 years ago, 5 or 6 years ago, and I think that was a great decision on my part. And lost weight, man. I'm down to almost fighting weight now. I'm
I
like,
see you, man.
yeah, I'm like 168. I'm like, shit.
Oh wow, man! You might as well go down there and get them younger some work, man. I'm just teasing, man.
Yeah,
Stay away from that place, man.
yeah, I blew up to like 200 pounds, man. When I stopped boxing, I blew up to
Okay.
like 200 pounds, and I was getting unhealthy. My blood pressure was getting high, my cholesterol was getting high, and I was like, oh man, it got up over 200.
Wow.
And the doctor was like, yeah, you might want to lose some weight or just do something, And I was like,
Yeah.
okay, all right, doc, I'll listen to you. And I just started eating healthier, started trying to stay away from the sugars as much as possible, because you know how much sugar is in all the foods that we eat, man.
Man, everything, man.
Yeah, man, they throw sugar
Everything.
in everything, man. So
Everything. Salt, sugar, everything. Sodium, all that, man.
yeah, I try to drink as much water as I can. If I drink coffee, I just drink a little bit of. I don't drink any dairy products now. I wouldn't say I'm totally vegan, but I'm
Okay.
almost there. I don't eat eggs. I don't eat like
Okay. You
dairy
there? You
cheese.
about there? You about there?
Yeah, I'm about there, man.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
and I try to stay on a consistent exercise regimen. But I owe it all to my wife, man. If she
There
wasn't
it
out there,
is.
if she wasn't out there pushing me to do this and waking me up at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, sometimes I don't want to get up. I'm like, man, I did this my whole life.
You did this my whole life, right?
just let me sleep in a little bit. She's like, nah, come on, let's go,
Right.
baby, let's go. I'm like, oh, all right.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, so it is what it is, man. But just trying to stay alive,
My brother C's, man, he been researching you, man. You got any more questions, C's, that you researched on him?
He done ran through everything.
Yeah,
He done
yeah,
ran through
you
everything.
did.
Main thing Main thing I did want to get to was the Contender, the trials for the
Ah,
Contender. How
yeah,
was that experience, and how did it come
that
about?
was wild. That was wild, man. So in like 2004, I think, 2004, I was living in New York, in upstate New York, in Kingston, and a guy who was training, man, who ran a gym up there. His name is Brian Demarest. Rest in peace, man. He lost it. He ended his life some years ago. But
Oh,
he
no.
he told me about the Contender series, and he was like, "Hey man, you should try out for this." And I had at the time I stopped boxing. I had retired in 2004. I retired from boxing. I thought I was done, right? And he said, "Hey, you should try for this Contender series." And I was like, "Well, what is that?" He was like, "I don't know, they're having trials down in New York City, down in the city." I was like, "Okay, might as well." He said, "Yeah, you go. The winning is $1 million if you win the whole thing." And I was like, "Shoot, I might as well go for it." So I was staying in the gym. I was trying to study training. So, um, the auditions came up. I guess we go down to New York City, we spar 1 round, and we do an interview with people. I just talked about my career, talked about my life, and they were like, "Okay, yeah, we want to select you for to be considered for one of the finalists to be selected for the show." So I get a ticket to fly out to LA. I fly out to LA. Um, and when I got out there, man, it was weird. It was like a whole week. And like, we had these people walking around with white coats on, like doctors and stuff. And, and they're putting us through all these tests, like all these mental tests, all these physical tests. And we weren't really training. We didn't have any like gym to go to. So I was out there. I was trying to run, trying to work out as much as possible. And then on one of the last days, we spar. So we spar again, and then we have to do an interview with like TV personality, or the people who are running the show. And, and it was crazy, man. Doctors interviewing us and asking us about our life and asking us about just trying to see if we're mentally stable enough for that. Yeah, and unfortunately, and unfortunately, I wasn't selected for the show, but it was an experience, man. But it was for the first season of the Contender. That's the one I tried out for.
Okay.
Yeah.
So during that break you just mentioned, was boxing the afterthought, or did you know you was going to eventually get
Nah,
back
man,
in?
when I stopped, like I knew I wasn't finished. I think I just needed a little break. I think my body just needed a little break, and I I knew I wasn't really finished because I stayed in the gym. I stayed like trying to help coach people and train. So when I moved to New York, I was living in Vegas
Mhm.
in 2003. I had met my wife out in Vegas. She was going to school out there in UNLV. She graduated school, college, and I said, okay. And Stan Hoffman who came out there, and he asked me to go.
Okay.
I went to Japan to spar with William Joppy. Yeah, William Jopp. And
He won the world champion out. He won
yeah,
the
yeah,
world title
he
in
was
Japan.
he was champ at the time, and so we went out there.
Okay.
Was sparring with Joppy in Japan for his fight, and then came back, and Stan had kind of convinced me to move to New York, and I would train under him, or not train under him, but I would be one of his fighters in the stable, and I was training Floyd Tracy Patterson.
Okay.
Floyd Patterson. So yeah, Tracy Patterson trained me in
Okay.
New York, and so yeah, that's pretty much what it was. I mean, I knew it wasn't really finished when I stopped boxing, but I had a little break, and yeah, but that was the question you asked, right, man? That's that boxing, man. That's that boxing.
All good, man.
Uh,
Trust me, I do it.
that,
If you ever go back on any of my episodes, I'm terrible with
well,
names.
yeah, be talking like, yeah, what the hell did he ask me?
Don't let my wife. I tell them all the time. She swears something wrong with me, man. Every time.
Man, I'll ask my wife. I'm like, hey, where are we going? She's like, I told you 5 different times where we going. We going to the grocery store. I'm like, oh, okay.
Right, man. Yes,
Well,
indeed, man.
I'm like, what are we doing today? She's like, I
Yeah.
told you already.
Yes, indeed.
My bad.
It's all good. A warrior, man.
Yeah, man.
Natural warrior, brother.
It happens, man. Yeah, I still got that fight in me. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, they don't go nowhere.
that competitive spirit. Like, I'm always
Yes,
competitive
indeed.
with everything, man.
Yes,
I
indeed,
always want
man.
to be I always want to be the winner in
Oh,
everything.
everything. That
Yeah,
never changed. You'll never
yeah,
lose
yeah.
that. I don't care how
No,
much you try to keep that beast in.
yeah,
You'll never lose that desire to be the best. That's just something
yeah,
natural in us, man.
yeah.
Especially as kids.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Even when I go to run a 5K and I know I'm not in shape and I know that I can't win anything because them cats are so fast, I still try to go out there like
I
I'm
know you
trying
still
to.
giving it your all, right?
I'm giving them all.
Exactly.
I run
So
so hard, I'm trying to walk towards the end. I'm like, oh shit,
and speaking of that,
I ain't gonna
man.
finish.
Speaking of that, man. Do you what, do you use boxing? How does boxing contain with your everyday life? Pertains to your everyday life?
Man, boxing. The fact just that boxing is a microcosm of life, man. You know, you go through the trials and tribulations. You go through, the ups and downs, man. But boxing taught me just to be persistent, keep going. You know, even when I was fighting 10 rounders, I fought it, and I would be so tired. And after the 5th round, oh shit, I don't think I can finish. And then that whistle would blow. You just stand up, get out there, and go fight, man.
Yeah,
Go do your thing, and that's what I do every day when I wake up. It's a fight. You know what I'm saying? It's a
that's
fight.
right.
It takes courage to get up out of the bed every day and go and face the world. You know, and I
That's
think
right.
that is that's what it's like in boxing. You know, it
Yeah,
takes courage to get up, go out there and face it, face your fears. Because when once you face your fears, you realize that they're not that scary.
it is, man.
Yeah,
And,
it's not
and
as scary as you thought it was gonna be.
we were just talking about that. Me and Joppy a couple of years ago. It's
Yeah,
coincidence you brought Joppy's name up.
yeah. Please tell him I say hello, man. I
I
miss
will do,
Joppy.
man. I will do for sure.
If
But
you
that's one
remember,
thing about boxing. It teaches you to face your fears.
face your fears, man. Yeah,
Imagine for the audience out there, imagine happening to going to somewhere that you know that you can get hurt at, but you know you have to go there. You
yes,
train to get hurt.
right.
That's kind of weird to say, but
Yeah, no
you
doubt, man.
train to get hurt.
No doubt, no
So
doubt.
it's nothing in the world that we're afraid of as boxers. I'm gonna keep it real with you.
Yeah, no, no. Boxing is controlled fear, man. That's all it is. Because when I got out there, every time I stepped in the ring, I was nervous.
Right.
Not that I was nervous. Uh,
Right.
I was just nervous of because I respected my opponent, respected what
Yep.
he could do, what I could do, but I had a little bit of confidence in what I could do. You know what I'm saying? My ability, I had the confidence in my ability
Yeah.
to be able to handle anything. That's what propelled me to go in there. But every time I entered the ring, man, I was nervous. I was scared,
Likewise.
and that fear propelled me. It helped me to it's that fight or flight. You know what I'm saying? I fought.
If you fought, yeah.
Yeah,
Listen,
yeah,
if you was the people, I'm when I put something together, I'm gonna show you how slick Brandon was as a fighter. I'm trying to tell you, man. Listen, he was so slick as a fighter. It will blow your mind when you see this. I'm gonna show you footage of him when he was young, like
yeah.
14, 15.
Oh man, you got some of them?
I think I got some in the cut,
Oh,
man. I'm gonna
that's
look up
beautiful.
something, man.
That's
I'm gonna look
beautiful,
for
man.
some, man. I know I got the ones with you and Gary Jones. I'm gonna
Yeah,
show that as well too.
yeah.
That was a chess match. That was a pure chess match there, man.
Every time, man. Gary was such a great counterpuncher, man, because he would lay back and sit back and wait for you to come in and wait for you to punch first, and then he would
Yeah, he hit
throw
you with
like
like 6. Yeah.
he throw like a 10-punch combination. Like, damn.
But listen, bro, man, it was an honor and a pleasure to have you on here, man.
Thanks,
You're
man.
welcome anytime, man. Anytime you want to express and give your story or tell your story, man, the platform is open here.
Yes,
Man,
sir. Thank you so much, man.
yes, indeed, man.
Yeah. I
You
appreciate
got
what
any?
you're doing, man, and I hope your viewers keep tuning in because you're running a great show here.
I thank you,
Yes.
man.
Yeah.
The whole objective, man, is to make sure we didn't have social media when we was coming up in the fight game.
Man, this is so new to everybody, to me for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah,
Sure, yeah,
exactly. So,
yeah,
right now, I'm making sure I get all my brothers, man, that stepped in that square,
yeah.
put their life on the line. Their stories will be told to the world.
It definitely takes courage, and only a select few understand what it's like to step in there. You know, people
Yes,
talk about it
indeed.
all day, talk about what they can
Oh, yeah,
do.
we can go all day. Yes,
Yeah,
indeed, man.
yeah.
But ladies
That's
and
what
gentlemen,
I know you're trying to get off, but I just want to say that
go ahead, bro. Say it. You got it.
people always talk about, oh yeah, I want to knock somebody out. I want to fight. I'll be a boxer. Like, okay, okay.
Mm.
It's good. It's easy to say that, but what happens when you can hit a bag all day long? That bag is not hitting you back. But what
Yep.
happens when you punch somebody in the mouth and they hit you right back? What are you gonna do? That's when you know whether or not you're a fighter or not.
There it is. That's a fact.
Yeah, how
That's
you
a fact.
react. How you react. So
Most of them don't come back in the gym the next day. They don't. Trust me.
Absolutely not, man.
Man, ladies and gentlemen, man. North Carolina, Augusta, Georgia,
That's right.
Florida, USA boxing legend, international boxing legend, the great Brandon Mitchem.
Oh man.
Second win boxing media. Peace.
All right, my man.